Part 2. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 11. Li Qing asked Zhang Qiandan to take the smuggling boat back, while he took the plane to Hong Kong. Things at home were urgent, and he had to go back to take charge as soon as possible. 6 hours later, Li Qing looked at Dahu and Ergu, who came to the airport to pick him up. The two had obviously been through a fierce battle, with gauze wrapped around their bodies and blood oozing out. "Brother, the land has been occupied, the flag has been pulled down, and the little sister-in-law has been kidnapped." Ergu lowered his head and said in a low voice. Li Qing left them to look after the house, but he didn't expect that not only did he lose the land, but even his sister-in-law was kidnapped. Now they wanted to commit suicide out of shame. Chen Henan, Li Qing's face was calm, as if he didn't care at all. "Well, damn it, thousands of dwarf mules were dispatched." Dahu gritted his teeth and said. This time, Li Qing's troops suffered a lot of losses. Li Qing looked around and saw that his younger brothers were lowering their heads one by one, like wilted roosters. He took a deep puff of cigarette. Anger slowly gathered in his heart. He raised his head slightly, his eyes gradually became colder. "Don't worry, I will make them pay the price. Now follow me to discuss with Zhang Tiansheng." Li Qing's words made the younger brothers stunned at first, and then their blood boiled. Dahu and Ergu looked at each other. Sure enough, there were two different looks with the big brother and without the big brother. Just one sentence gathered people's hearts. This is the charm of personality. A group of people, 7 or 8 cars, went to the villa of Zhang Tiansheng, the leader of Hong Xing. "Mr. Zhang, it's bad. Li Qing is coming with his men." At this time, Zhang Tiansheng was swimming in the swimming pool. He waved his hand to signal his younger brother not to be nervous. He knew that Li Qing was here to ask for punishment, and he also knew that Li Qing didn't dare to do anything to him. "Ask him in." Li Qing didn't let the younger brother follow him, and walked into the villa alone. After all, it was not the time to tear his face. "Li Qing, you are here? Come down and swim a circle," Zhang Tiansheng said comfortably while lying on the edge of the swimming pool. There was also an 18-line star Fang Ting helping to press his shoulders next to him. Li Qing smiled evilly, "Then I'd rather obey you than be respectful." He tore off his clothes, revealing the fascinating tiger head tattoo. Zhang Tiansheng only felt that the tiger head's eyes were emitting a green light, and he had difficulty breathing. Fang Ting was different. It was her first time meeting Li Qing. Seeing Li Qing's strong muscles and 8-pack abs, coupled with the tattoo, there was a special beauty. Li Qing jumped into the swimming pool and looked at Zhang Tiansheng, who was stunned on the side with a playful look. "Mr. Zhang, I want to know if Chen Henan pulled my flag because of your instruction." Li Qing stared at him without blinking. Zhang Tiansheng's heart shuddered, but he still shook his head. "Ah Qing, this matter was Henan's own decision. After all, you killed his younger brother." "Oh? Mr. Zhang means that the club can pull the flag at will? He broke the rules." Li Qing lowered his head, and no one could see his expression, but his clenched fists under the water showed his anger. "Ah Qing, you broke the rules first," Zhang Tiansheng said with a smile on his face. Li Qing was thinking about it. It seems that Zhang Tiansheng is determined to protect Chen Henan. "Mr. Zhang, what is the point of being a gangster?" Li Qing suddenly asked. Zhang Tiansheng didn't understand, but still said, "We are doing it by the side door, we worship Guan Yi, and we value loyalty." Li Qing smiled and said meaningfully, "Mr. Zhang, being a gangster is about rules and strength. Since Mr. Jiang's rules are gone, let's talk about strength after that." Li Qing patted Zhang Tiansheng's shoulder. He supported the edge of the swimming pool and jumped out of the swimming pool. Zhang Tiansheng looked at Li Qing's back with a sullen face. Since he became the leader, no one has been so unreasonable to him. Ah Fang Ting next to him exclaimed. Jiang Tiansheng turned his head to look in the direction Fang Ting pointed, only to see that the tiles on the edge of the swimming pool had been completely broken. Jiang Tiansheng narrowed his eyes, this Li Qing can't stay. In fact, Jiang Tiansheng is not as kind as he looks, and his usual smiling appearance is all pretended. The old men in the 12 halls all knew how he dealt with his brother Jiang Tianyang. Let's go, Li Qing said to the younger brother in front of him, prepare to take back Mongkok. Before getting in the car, Li Qing looked back at the villa, not knowing what he was thinking. The night of Hong Kong has arrived, and Mongkok is the same as usual, with people coming and going, as if the owner has changed and the owner has not changed. Chen Henan and others have received a call from Jiang Tiansheng and know that Li Qing has returned. With the younger brothers, they are ready for battle. As long as Li Qing is defeated today, Mongkok will be stable. By then, Li Qing will become a dog without a home. Who will follow the big boss who has lost his land? A group of short mules suddenly appeared on the street. Those who knew them knew that they were going to split their friends, and they vacated the street to avoid hurting innocent people. Li Qing took the lead, walking in front with a straight blade knife, followed by hundreds of younger brothers. Some were still bandaged, but they couldn't hide the fierce light in their eyes. All the younger brothers came with a heart of revenge. Chen Henan lifted his hair on his forehead and used his signature thumb to dig his ear. Li Qing, Li Qing felt uncomfortable watching Chen Henan show off, so he chopped him with a knife. Poor Chen Henan was only halfway through showing off, and was cut on the face by a knife. If Shanji hadn't pulled him back, half of his head would have been chopped off. Damn, this is unethical, chop him to death. Chen Henan covered his face, and was injured again after just removing the gauze. Let them chop. Li Qing smiled and shouted to his younger brothers. The younger brothers laughed and went up to chop their friends. Li Qing also rushed in the direction of Chen Henan and Shanji. Li Qing's knife was fast and powerful. Some people didn't even feel the pain and their arms flew out. Basically, people who were close to Li Qing either had their arms or legs flying, and none of them were missing parts. The short mule was not stupid either. He also knew how powerful Li Qing was, so he rushed to find Li Qing's younger brothers to chop. As time went on, there was no one in front of Li Qing. Chen Henan and Shanji looked at Li Qing in front of them in horror, pushing the few younger brothers to chop Li Qing. You dare to chop my second brother, I'll fight you. One of the younger brothers was very smart and turned around and rushed into the crowd. The other younger brothers followed suit and rushed out shouting, "You!" Chen Henan was speechless, looking at the younger brothers who were charging in the opposite direction. Then he turned around and looked at Shanji next to him. Why are you looking at me? I can't beat him. Shanji's arm was aching slightly, and it was obvious that he had been traumatized by Li Qing's beating. Ah! Chen Henan roared, and pretended to rush over with a knife. Li Qing held the knife tightly, intending to fight Chen Henan one-on-one. Wait! Unexpectedly, Chen Henan ran to the back after saying the harsh words. Shanji was obviously sprained by Chen Henan's coquettish operation, and was stunned for a while. Li Qing was also amused by Chen Henan's operation. That's it? He's still the leader of Causeway Bay. Shanji also hurriedly ran away. When Chen Henan's younger brothers saw their big brother running away, they all dropped their knives and ran away. Li Qing did not stop him. There must be no deaths in Mongkok. After all, it was his territory. If someone died, the police would definitely come to make trouble, and the most important thing would be that it would affect the business. Brother, do you want to chase her? De Hu and Ergo were covered in blood, and they didn't know whether it was their own or someone else's. Li Qing shook his head. He was waiting. When Zhang Qian's eggs arrived, all of Chen Henan's debts would be repaid. Little sister-in-law. Don't worry, she's safe, Li Qing said mysteriously. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wan Qing Bu Letin Liang. Chapter 12. Late at night, the sound of a ship's motor suddenly sounded on the pier in Saigon. A light lit up on the dark sea, and Li Qing signaled De Hu to reply. De Hu quickly took a high-power flashlight and made 3 long and 2 short signals. The smuggling ship docked smoothly, and Zhang Qiandan and Zhang Dongxiu, with chapped lips, stepped off the ship. "Brother," the two came to Li Qing respectfully. Li Qing patted the two of them on the shoulders. "Thank you for your hard work." After speaking, he walked to the ship, pried open the box, and took a serious look at the brand new ammunition. "Move up, it's time to avenge your dead brother." Last time, Chen Henan and others took advantage of Li Qing's absence to attack Mongkok and lost several brothers. These are young men who are 100% loyal, and Li Qing feels very sorry for them. "Yes, brother." All the younger brothers looked at Li Qing with reverence. There are not many bosses who protect their shortcomings like this nowadays. The average boss would take the life of a dwarf mule rather than his life. I even heard that the crow of Dongxing went even further and almost used his little brother as a slave. At the Blue Ocean Bar in Causeway Bay, short mules stood at the door smoking cigarettes in 2s and 3s. "Oh, I thought Brother Nan was the strongest beater in Hongxing, but I didn't expect Li Qing to be even better." A younger brother lowered his head and muttered to the person next to him. "Who says it's not the case? I was shocked when I saw Brother Nan and Brother Ji running away. Damn it, they are even cowards than me. If I had hacked that Li Qing to death earlier." "Don't talk nonsense, you want to kill us." Huang Mao, who was obviously the leader, slapped the younger brother on the head. The beaten boy shrugged his shoulders, looking indifferent. "That's what little bastards are like. If they obey you, you can do whatever you want. If I don't accept your words, I will be my boss." There was a sound of footsteps, and the young gangster looked up, only to see the black hole of the gun pointed at him. "Don't move, or I'll beat you to death." The little gangster lay on the ground tremblingly, not daring to say a word. Li Qing knelt down and looked at the little gangster lying on the ground. "I heard you want to chop me to death." "Brother Qing, I didn't, it's not me." The little gangster turned pale with fright. "Break his legs." Without saying a word, Zhang Dongxiu lifted the gangster's right leg and folded it in the opposite direction. With a click and hearing the screams, Li Qing led people into the bar. The bar was still bustling with people at midnight, and the men and women on the dance floor were huddled together. Bang! A gunshot caused chaos in the entire bar. After a while, everyone in the bar was gone. Chen Henan and others heard the noise and came out to check, and a younger brother took the lead. "Qian Liliang, Li Qing, how dare you come to Brother Nan's territory to cause trouble?" "Pa," the younger brother opened his eyes wide in fear, with a look of fear on his face. Zhang Qiandan blew the smoke from the gun. "Henan, your little brother still doesn't understand the rules." Li Qing's eyes became sharper and sharper, and the anger in his eyes made people feel their scalp numb. The younger brother behind Chen Henan took a step back involuntarily, and the hand holding the steel pipe trembled slightly. "Li Qing, do you dare to use a gun? Are you crazy? Are you not afraid of the police?" Chen Henan's Adam's apple moved up and down, and his voice was trembling. "Don't worry, we won't find a single hair from the police today." Li Qing knelt down, picked up the bullet casings on the ground, and stuffed them into his pocket. "And your bodies?" Li Qing waved his hand, and the younger brother behind him took out his pistol, turned on the safety, and waited for Li Qing to give the order. "Li Qing, you don't want me anymore." At this time, the pheasant stood up and shouted loudly. He was afraid that if he didn't come out, he would really die here. Li Qing stepped forward and patted Pheasant's face. "Street boy, I bet, you don't dare to kill me." Pheasant really didn't dare. He wasn't afraid of death. He was afraid that life would be worse than death. "I believe Li Qing could do it." But, Li Qing clapped his hands, and a carefree person walked out from behind the younger brothers. "Brother Ching, here I come. My little sister-in-law has spent hundreds of thousands on me in the past few days. Please pick her up quickly." The person who came was none other than the downhill tiger of Dongxing, Crow. In the past few days, he sent his little sister to follow Zixi to shop. Unexpectedly, he spent hundreds of thousands of Hong Kong dollars in just a few days. For the stingy crow, this was even more uncomfortable than killing him. "Li Qing, if you dare to collude with other societies, you will definitely be punished." Chen Henan looked at Li Qing with a livid face and said viciously. "It's okay, now you will be shot 3 times and 6 holes." The younger brothers were about to shoot at Chen Henan and others. "Mr. Zhang! Mr. Zhang!" Zhang Tiansheng walked in surrounded by Chen Yao and others. Everyone except Li Qing's younger brother greeted him respectfully. "Hey, Mr. Zhang is so late and hasn't rested yet. Is it because Miss Fang Ting is not serving you well?" Li Qing said frivolously. Since the last time the two had a falling out, Li Qing decided not to give Zhang Tiansheng any more face. "Li Qing, what did you say?" Chen Yao, Zhang Tiansheng's die-hard younger brother, stood up and scolded. Crow punched Chen Yao on the arm without warning, and said arrogantly, "Mada, stay out of the way. Others are afraid of you Hongxing, but I am not afraid." At this time, the people brought by Zhang Tiansheng gave up and started to attack the crows. The crows immediately hid behind Li Qing and his subordinates. "The crow is my friend, let me see who dares to touch him." Li Qing looked at the people opposite him with a gloomy face. Zhang Qiandan and others slowly gathered around, threatening to surround Zhang Tiansheng. Just one sentence silenced everyone present, even Zhang Tiansheng fell silent. Li Qing winked, and Crow nodded slightly. "Oh, no more fun. Let's go, let's go." After saying that, Crow took his little brother and walked out. Everyone made way for him, and no one dared to stop him. "Ah Qing, there's no need to play so big, right?" Zhang Tiansheng waited for the crow to leave, then looked at the gun in Li Qing's hand and said, "Oh, where was Mr. Zhang when my Mongkok brother was hacked? He was probably sleeping with Miss Fang Ting in his arms." All of Li Qing's younger brothers laughed. Chen Henan finally couldn't bear it anymore. He would not allow anyone to be unreasonable to Mr. Zhang. "Street boy, if you dare, challenge me, and challenge my little brother." The pheasant next to him looked at Chen Henan in confusion. "Holy shit, what is this?" Li Qing glanced at Chen Henan contemptuously. He had grown so big for nothing, and his mind was full of shit. "Ah Qing, it was indeed Henan who did something wrong last time. I will leave Causeway Bay to you. Stop making trouble. The whole community in Hong Kong is laughing at us." Zhang Tiansheng stopped what Chen Henan was about to say. Li Qing squinted his eyes, moved slightly, and looked at him with a slight smile. "Mr. Zhang, as you get older, you should go out less often at night. Isn't Miss Fang Ting nice to you?" He took a few steps forward and looked at Zhang Tiansheng condescendingly. After saying that, he led his younger brother towards the door. "Chen Henan, I don't want to see any of your people in Causeway Bay tomorrow. I'll kill everyone I see." Before Li Qinglan went out, he turned to Chen Henan and said arrogantly, "Mr. Zhang, give me 3 days and I will bring Li Qing's head." Chen Henan saw that Li Qing had disappeared, so he dared to stand up and express his determination. Pheasant looked at Chen Henan with strange eyes. "Maid, I didn't even dare to fart just now." "Anan, I'm sorry to you, he won't be arrogant for long." Zhang Tiansheng was still smiling. "Also, Henan, hurry up and arrange for Pheasant to escape to Wanwan. Pheasant participated in the kidnapping of Li Qing's son, and I'm afraid he won't let it go. Pheasant's whole body was numb. I'm going to do it, but I'm going to take the blame alone." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 13. For a moment, Chen Henan felt a little reluctant. After all, Shanji had been with him the longest. Even if a dog has been kept by his side for more than 10 years, it will have feelings. Zhang Tiansheng led Chen Yao and others out of the Blue Bay bar. Chen Henan looked at Shanji's lonely expression and felt a little uncomfortable. Finally, he caught up with Zhang Tiansheng and said, "Mr. Zhang, do you have any other way? After all, Shanji." Zhang Tiansheng frowned slightly. For the first time, he felt that Chen Henan was a little silly. "Henan, do you know why you can't get the red stick?" Zhang Tiansheng looked at Chen Henan seriously. Chen Henan was a little panicked. It was the first time he saw Zhang Tiansheng so serious. In his eyes, Long Tu had always been smiling. Seducing the second sister-in-law is a taboo. If Shanji doesn't leave, you will always be nailed to the pillar of shame. You can do whatever you want. After saying that, he left without looking back, leaving Chen Henan wondering what he was thinking. Slowly, the expression on Chen Henan's face became firm, and he strode into the bar. Shanji looked at Chen Henan expectantly. After all, Hong Kong is his root, and he also hopes to stay in Hong Kong. "Shanji, Brother Nan is sorry for you and cannot protect you. Mr. Zhang said that it is the best choice for you to leave Taiwan now." Chen Henan's expression was very sad. Shanji's eyes changed from expectation to disappointment and then to despair, and he sat on the chair in a daze. "It's okay. It's not bad in Taiwan. I'm still the poisonous tongue leader of the Sanlian gang. You don't have to worry." Shanji pretended to be strong and said indifferently. Thinking back to the beginning, Shanji brought the Sanlian gang's younger brothers back to help Chen Henan get promoted. How glorious it was, but he didn't expect that he would end up like a dog who lost his home now. Chen Henan pursed his lips and said softly, "The boat at 1 a.m., Kwaichung Pier." Shanji nodded and walked out of the bar with a few younger brothers. Turned around and took a look. This is the bar that he built, from decoration to operation. "Brother Nan, take care. Let's go." At 1 o'clock in the morning, Shanji sat at Kwaichung Pier and smoked. "Brother Shanji, this is what Brother Nan asked me to give you. He said that we are brothers for life, and this watch is for self-defense." A younger brother took out a gold Rolex and handed it to Shanji. Shanji took the gold Rolex and was a little moved. This scene seemed familiar. Not long after, Shanji boarded the smuggling ship bound for Taiwan province. The smuggling ship was sailing very fast and soon reached the high seas. "Brother G, there is a ship blocking us and intercepting us," the snakehead came to report. Shanji stood up and walked to the bow, looking at the ship that was several times larger than himself lying in front of him. "Friends in front, row down, I apologize here if I have offended you," Shanji shouted loudly. "This situation is very common, it is nothing more than robbing and getting some money to spend. We are the subordinates of Han Ben of Hong Xin Quite Sing, and friends we know should give us some respect," the snakehead also chimed in. "After all, the name of Hong Xin is quite popular in Hong Kong." Bang! The person on the opposite boat shot the snakehead in the middle of his eyebrows. Noisy. At this time, Shanji also saw the person on the opposite side clearly, Li Qing's younger brother, Zhang Qiandan. Shanji smiled bitterly and slumped in the bow, looking at Li Qing and others who were walking over. "Brother Qing, I promise never to set foot in Hong Kong, let me go." Shanji was no longer tough, and knelt down to beg. Li Qing smiled and shook his head. "Brother, I don't believe you, you will cause trouble for me sooner or later when you go to Taiwan." Shanji gritted his teeth and took out the gold watch given by Chen Henan. "My hands plus this gold watch, let me go, Brother Qing." Now Shanji just wants to survive, Even if Li Qing asks him to kill Chen Henan as a token of his loyalty, he is willing. Li Qing took the gold Rolex, looked around, and slammed the dial, and the gold watch broke directly. Boss is awesome, martial arts is unparalleled, De Hu and Ergo both shouted loudly, looking excited. Li Qing looked at the damaged gold watch in astonishment. I didn't use any strength. Chen Henan, I'm so cold, Shan Ji shouted in anger. He didn't expect to be deceived by Chen Henan before leaving. Li Qing looked at Shan Ji pitifully. In the next life, don't trust people so much, especially people like Chen Henan. Li Qing shot Shan Ji's forehead without hesitation, and an indescribable force surged in Hu Tiou, making him feel that his physical fitness has improved a lot. If this goes on, maybe he can really be invulnerable. Li Qing was dreaming. Sink the boat and kill everyone inside, Li Qing ordered. Several younger brothers rushed into the cabin, and a few gunshots ended the lives of several snakeheads. Watching the boat slowly sink to the bottom of the sea, Li Qing took a deep puff of cigarette. Boss, it's almost time. Chen Henan and Zhang Tiansheng will come down to accompany you soon. It was not until 3 o'clock in the morning that the group returned to the Saigon pier. Li Qing and his younger brothers strolled slowly on the Saigon pier. It was dark, and occasionally there were lights on in the fishermen's boat houses. Help! A shrill woman's cry for help cut through the night sky. Li Qing paused when he heard the voice. As a good boy in his previous life, he also had a sense of justice, and by the way, he also satisfied his curiosity. Let's go and take a look. The younger brothers were very excited. It was probably another domestic violence. Who doesn't like to watch a show? Bang Zhang Dongzio took the lead and kicked open the door. I saw a wretched uncle pressing on a woman with white skin, beautiful face, and long legs. He was holding a tattoo tool in his hand and was about to poke the woman's back. Who are you? Where are you from? My boss is a fool. The wretched uncle stood up. The woman hurriedly covered her roundness. Only then did Li Qing see the woman's appearance clearly. It turned out to be her. Zhang Dongzio stuffed the gun barrel into the wretched snakehead's mouth, and the snakehead was instantly scared to kneel on the ground. Li Qing stepped forward and pinched the woman's chin. What's your name? Gang Sheng. Gang Sheng blinked his big eyes in fear and looked at Li Qing pitifully. Are you the snakehead? Li Qing squatted down and patted the snakehead's face hard. The snakehead nodded hurriedly, holding the gun barrel in his mouth and mumbling something. He looked at the tattoo gun that fell on the ground and smiled. You are still a humming artist. Tattoo a tiger head on this woman's back. If it doesn't work well, I'll kill you. The snakehead didn't dare to say anything, and quickly stood up and picked up the tattoo gun. Gang Sheng, right. Li Qing touched Gang Shen's smooth shoulders, and the cold hand made Gang Sheng shiver. By the way, my name is Li Qing. When the snakehead heard Li Qing's name, his tattooed hand trembled and stabbed directly into his own hand. Damn, why did the tiger of Mongkok come back to this remote place? This is a big deal. Li Qing's younger brothers were also very sensible. They obviously knew that their elder brother was interested in the woman in front of them, and they all turned their backs. Li Qing sat on the chair, crossed his legs, and looked at the snakehead's tattoo. The snakehead was so scared that he kept wiping his sweat and used all his skills, fearing that Li Qing would not be satisfied. Not to mention that the snakehead's tattooing skills are quite good. In just 2 hours, a lifelike bloody tiger head appeared on the back of the student. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 14. Li Qing nodded in satisfaction, and the snakehead smiled flatteringly. De Hu and Ergo looked at Li Qing pitifully. Brother, we also want to have a tiger head tattooed on our backs. Li Qing imagined the scene, and almost vomited out of disgust, and squeezed out a word between his teeth. Get lost. Zhang Qiandan also shrank his head in fear. He had the same idea just now, but was said by Dehu first. Damn, if brother doesn't let me get a tiger head tattoo, what's the point of keeping you? Dehu took out a steel wire from his arms and tightly strangled the snakehead's neck. Not long after, the snakehead stopped breathing. Li Qing hugged the trembling Gang Shen into the inner room. Don't be afraid, I will treat you well. In this way, the two began a fierce competition. Especially Li Qing was a little excited when he looked at the back with the tiger head tattoo. Omitted 30,000 words. An hour later, looking at Gang Shen who was exhausted and collapsed on the chair, Li Qing felt a sense of accomplishment. Gang Shen is different from other women. She is born with the ability to make people want to protect her. The most important thing is that she is still a virgin like Mao Xianmin. Li Qing felt that he seemed to have a collecting habit, especially virgins, which could make him have an extremely strong possessive desire. Gang Shen reluctantly put on his clothes and walked out of the room with Li Qing. Call someone. All the younger brothers respectfully called the eldest sister-in-law. Li Qing took people back to Mongkok, leaving only Dehu and Ergu to deal with the corpse of the snakehead. Brother is fast enough to find the eldest sister-in-law. Do you think the little eldest sister-in-law will be jealous? Ergu said in a low voice. Dehu slapped Ergu on the head. Don't talk nonsense, this is love. Do you love you flatterer? Kyandan said that the eldest brother has another one in Korea. Ergu retorted. That's also love, big brother is all loving. During this period, everything was calm. Even when Chen Henan became a red stick, Li Qing did not stop him. Chen Henan also became the first red stick in the history of Hongxin without a land. As Li Qing seized Chen Henan's Causeway Bay, plus Mongkok, and the smuggling business, his power became larger and larger. But Li Qing's direct subordinates are still those people. After all, 100% loyalty needs time to cultivate. The bar in Mongkok is managed by Zixi, and the Blue Sea bar in Causeway Bay is managed by Hongsheng. Li Qing has only one standard for them: they cannot touch flour. Anyone who touches it will die. He coordinated the smuggling business. What surprised him was that mobile phone smuggling was more profitable than car smuggling. In a short period of time, he has made tens of millions, which is a huge profit. This is also thanks to Mao Xianmin. If it weren't for her, Korean communications companies would never be able to produce mobile phones suitable for Hong Kong alone. This is not a businessman with Lian Sheng. Jimmy came to the door. Jimmy? Where have you made money recently? Li Qing brewed a pot of tea and poured a cup to Jimmy. Just kidding, who dares to say that they have made money in front of Brother Cheng? I'm selling fake bags recently, which are very popular in Southeast Asia, Jimmy said with a smile. In fact, Li Qing admired Jimmy very much. Although he was a member of the society, he had a business mind and a keen business sense, just like a hyena that smelled blood. So he found out at the first time that a large number of low-priced mobile phones appeared in Hong Kong, and found Li Qing by following the clues. Brother Qing, how about we cooperate? I have channels, you have sources of goods, let's split the profits 50-50 and make money together. Jimmy didn't hide it and said it directly. Li Qing looked at Jimmy with a smile. It seems that this kid doesn't want to take any risks, and he wants to make money without doing anything. How can such a good thing happen? So, I also have channels in Korea for fake bags, so why don't we split the difference 50-50? Jimmy's smile was a little awkward when he heard this. Haha, Brother Qing, I was just kidding. Jimmy also saw that Li Qing had no intention of talking, so he said goodbye. John Kyandan and others blocked the door at once. Brother Qing, what does this mean? Jimmy frowned and asked. Nothing, I just want to ask if you want to come to my place. You and Lian Sheng are not at peace. Li Qing obviously had something to say, and then waved his hand to let the brothers go. Jimmy, I know you always want to go the right way, and so do I. You are always welcome here. Jimmy paused after hearing this, and then walked out expressionlessly. In fact, Li Qing had his own plan not to cooperate with Jimmy. Tonight, Li Qing invited 13th sister, Han Bin, and Dinosaur from the Hongsing Hall to have dinner at Yugyuki. At 7 o'clock in the evening, all the talents arrived. Li Qing, why did you think of inviting us to dinner? 13th sister staggered in with her girlfriend. You bring a woman with you wherever you go, do you have any sense? Han Bin really couldn't stand the women around 13th sister, he was just jealous. What's your business? 13th sister rolled her eyes. I don't want to bother with you. These two quarreled as soon as they met, and everyone was used to it. They didn't see Han Bin's brainless brother Dinosaur just smiled foolishly and didn't dare to say a word. These three hall masters are the ones with better relationships, and most of the others are fence-sitters. Hey, Sister May, Brother Ben, Dinosaur, don't say I don't take care of you. Do you want to invest in a business? Li Qing raised his eyebrows and said. When they heard about business, they all became excited. After all, not everyone is as rich as Li Qing, and each hall master has so many younger brothers under him. I heard that Brother G couldn't even pay his younger brother's bail. Hey, Ah Qing, don't frame us. We've always supported you, Han Bin said while smoking a cigar. Mobile phones, I have the source, but you have to find the channel yourself. This number. Li Qing made a 7:3 gesture. 30%, isn't it a bit low? Li Qing was speechless. In fact, 30% is not a small amount. After all, smuggling also involves risks. 30% is 30%. 13th sister was still straightforward and agreed immediately. In the end, only 13th sister agreed. As for Han Bin and Dinosaur, they disdained the low profit and did not participate in Li Qing's business. Short-sighted, only know how to guard the land. Looking at the backs of Han Bin and others, Li Qing sneered disdainfully. Originally, I wanted to fight them to make a fortune together, but now it seems that I overestimated the IQ of these hall masters. After finishing his work, Li Qing returned to the villa he had just bought. As soon as the door was opened, the sensible Gang Sheng picked up the slippers and hurriedly changed them for the drunk Li Qing. Why did you drink so much? Gang Sheng's tone was full of concern. After this period of time together, Li Qing not only treated her well, but also helped her solve her identity problem and gave her a bar to manage. Gang Sheng fell in love with Li Qing completely and put his whole heart on Li Qing. It's okay, how is it? Is the bar okay? Li Qing took off her coat, hugged Gang Sheng's thin waist and sat on the sofa, and kissed him. Don't make trouble, I'll prepare sobering soup for you. Gang Sheng slapped Li Qing's mischievous hand in a grudge. Li Qing smiled and patted her hips. Hate. At this time, Li Qing found that Zixi was lying on the sofa eating fruit, indifferent to Li Qing's arrival. Li Qing's eyes flashed with a trace of dissatisfaction. Compared with Gang Sheng, Zixi is just a little gangster who doesn't consider other people's feelings at all. Zixi, how are the bars in Mongkok? It's okay, but the money is a little low. Only a few $100,000 a night, not enough for me to buy a bag, Zixi complained. Since Zixi got hundreds of thousands of dollars from Crow for free last time, she has become more and more extravagant. She buys hundreds of thousands of bags at will, and some are even put aside after one day of use. In addition, Li Qing is obviously better to Gang Sheng at home, which makes her, who calls herself the #1 sister-in-law, very dissatisfied. Li Qing looked gloomy and looked at the entry of 80% loyalty above Zixili's head. This formed a strong contrast with the 100% loyalty above Gang Sheng's head. Bang bang. The knock on the door interrupted Li Qing's thoughts. Who is it so late? Gang Sheng came out and was about to open the door. Li Qing waved his hand, walked over and opened the door. Li Qing, right? You are suspected of smuggling, come with us. The Marine police in military uniform showed the arrest warrant and said. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 15. Wait a minute, let me say a few words to my wife. With tears in his eyes, Hong Kong Sheng gently grabbed the corner of Li Qing's clothes. Li Qing came to Hong Kong Sheng's side, hugged her comfortingly and patted her back. Don't worry, it's okay. And keep an eye on Zixin Li. I'll find Qiandan after I leave, Li Qing whispered in her ear. Zixi Li also stood up and looked at Li Qing worriedly, but the loyalty of the entry on his head was reduced by 10%. Li Qing looked deeply into his eyes, nodded expressionlessly, and followed the note out. As soon as the door was closed, a thin and loud roar came from inside the door. It's all because of you, the sweeper. Ever since you came, Brother Qing and I have never had a good life. Pass. When Li Qing heard this, his eyes became colder and colder, and the two cops beside him shuddered. The police car swerved to an unknown beach. Before I go to the police station, there is a sir who wants to talk to you. Li Qing already knew who it was. He opened the car door and walked to the beach. There was a person standing on the beach, Huang Zhishan. Sir Huang, it's so late and you're still drinking the northwest wind. Li Qing looked at Huang Zhishan jokingly. Huang Zhishan was stunned for a moment when he heard this, and quickly called Li Qing. Li Qing did not dodge, but held Huang Zhishan's fist with his hand. As the strength in his hands grew stronger, Huang Zhishan began to show a painful expression on his face. Puja, I asked you to be an undercover agent, but I didn't let you really be a young and dangerous boy. Huang Zhishan quickly pulled out his hand and rubbed his painful hand. What's the difference between you and a short mule now? Do you still want to return to the police force? Huang Zhishan took back the police force to threaten Li Qing as usual. Li Qing smiled, tilted his head, and looked at Huang Zhishan without saying a word. In fact, since his grandfather's death, Li Qing has never thought about returning to the police force. There are too many people like Huang Zhishan in the police force who have stepped on undercovers to rise to the top. Don't forget, your file is still in my hands. Without this file, you will be a young and dangerous boy for the rest of your life, and you will never be able to clean yourself up. In the future, your son and grandson will also be a young and dangerous boy. Huang Zhishan lowered his head and lit his cigarette, looking at the dark beach and said. Just these words made Li Qing's eyes become colder and colder, and he couldn't help but want to kill Huang Zhishan here. He loosened his clenched fists and said in a slightly frivolous tone, Sir, do you want me to tell people everywhere that I am an undercover agent? Trying hard to control his emotions, he secretly warned himself, there are police around, so it's not the right time. Huang Zhishan looked at Li Qing, took a deep breath of cigarette, and spit it on Li Qing's face. He said contemptuously, I know you are doing something recently. Although no one reported the crime, someone heard the gunfire. You have 3 days to complete the task I assigned you, otherwise, haha. After saying that, he planned to turn around and leave. Sir Huang, it's difficult to check the flower warehouse. You know, I won't touch that thing. I don't care, you have to remember that your files are in my hands, bad guy, Huang Zhishan said without looking back. Hey, Sir Huang, the Coast Guard wants to arrest me for tea, but you don't care. You should handle your own affairs by yourself. The worst case scenario is that you will come back to Stanley. Aren't you comfortable in Stanley? Li Qing smiled when he heard this, but his mood became more and more calm. This person can't be kept. He licked his white teeth, and from a distance it looked like an evil ghost grinning. Huang Zhishan opened the car door and sat in the driver's seat. He found that Li Qing was about to break free from his control. But through today's testing, I feel that he still cares about his files. Looks like it's time to transfer his files. Now is the critical time for him to be promoted to senior inspector. He must not make any mistakes and must find Hungxing's flower warehouse. As for this Li Qing, it won't be too late to deal with it after he is promoted. Anyway, there are many undercover agents like him, so at worst, he will support one more. The boy named Chen last time is good. Li Qing was taken into the car by the Coast Guard again, and soon arrived at the interrogation room. Hey, isn't this an old acquaintance? Mr. Ren from Mr. O, isn't the Coast Guard here to treat me to tea? Does Mr. O also want to treat me to coffee? Then I'm afraid you have to queue up. Li Qing looked at the people sitting in front of him. Said the note. Li Qing, we found a corpse on the high seas, and it was identified as Zhao Shanhe, a member of the Hongxing Society. We think you are suspected of committing a major crime. Do you have any evidence? If you don't have any evidence, I'll sue you. After Li Qing was taken away, Zixin Liu cursed Hong Kong Shen, who just curled his shoulders and looked at her coldly. When Zixi opened the door and walked away, she picked up the phone on the table and dialed Zhang Qiandan's cell phone. Hey, brother Zhang, brother Qing was taken away by a note. Then he thought about it and said, Zixin Li also went out. As soon as Zhang Qiandan received the call, he found a lawyer to bail Li Qing out. And called Zhang Dongzhou to protect Hong Kong students. The more Hong Kong Sheng thought about it, the more she felt something was wrong. She didn't know why brother Qing asked her to take a good look at Zixin Liang. She simply took Zhang Dongzhou to the bar in Mongkok. Since brother Qing asked her to watch Zixin Liu, he kept watching her all the time. Zixi Liu on the other side had no idea that he was being followed. He walked out of the villa depressed and drove towards Mongkok. Ever since Hong Kong students came to Hong Kong, Zixi Li had felt very unbalanced. In addition, the income of bars in Mongkok was not as good as that in Causeway Bay, so her pocket money was much less than before. It's all the fault of that Hong Sheng, otherwise, the bar in Causeway Bay would also be mine. She planned to go to the bar in Mongkok to see today's earnings. If she was in a bad mood, she would go shopping. A group of little girls were waiting for Zixi Li at the door of the bar in Mongkok. When they saw her coming, they all rushed over. Zixi Li obviously enjoyed this kind of life. Sister Li, you are here, the younger brother opened the door attentively and smiled flatteringly. Yeah, Zixi Li casually took out a big gold bowl and threw it to the younger brother. Since Zixi Li took over the bar in Mongkok, the younger brothers were not allowed to call her little sister-in-law, but Sister Li. Especially after Hong Sheng appeared, she was more taboo about the title of little sister-in-law. Lan Ziqiang, how is the earnings today? Sister Li, today's earnings are only 80,000. Lan Ziqiang smiled bitterly. In fact, it's not his fault that the earnings are so low. First, the night is not over yet, and the money has not been counted. Second, Zixi Li has taken too much money from the account in recent days, and there is not enough money for drinks. So little? Bring it here. Zixi Li stretched out her hand. Sister Li, you can't touch this money. The drinks haven't been paid yet, Lan Ziqiang said in embarrassment. What did you say? The whole bar belongs to our sister Li, how dare you not pay? A group of little gangsters chirped and scolded Lan Ziqiang. Zixi Li also felt very embarrassed, slapped Lan Ziqiang in the face, and reached out to grab the money from Lan Ziqiang's hand. All the gangsters shouted, Sister Li is mighty. Since following Sister Li, this group of gangsters has been like a little kid in charge, a little man has succeeded, and they are always shouting and drinking in the Mongkok bar, and it is common for them to drink without paying. Now they followed Zixi Li into the bar's private room, planning to drink until the second half of the night before going shopping. Gang Sheng and Zhang Dongzhou watched the scene from a distance without saying a word. When he was about to turn around and leave, Gang Sheng was pulled by Zhang Dongzhou beside him. Gang Sheng looked at Zhang Dongzhou in confusion, and Zhang Dongzhou pointed to the direction of the door. The person who came was Chen Henan. Chen Henan lowered his head and said something to the bartender, then walked straight to the private room of Zixi Li. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 16. Chen Henan pushed open the door of the private room vigorously, and the loud noise made all the ladies startled. Who the hell are you? Don't you know this is Sister Li's private room? This arrogant little girl was instantly knocked unconscious by a bottle of wine. Chen Henan slowly walked in. All the little girls who had been shouting just now became mute, and no one dared to speak out. Zixi narrowed her eyes and felt a little nervous. After all, Li Qing was not around. Beautiful, Nan, you dare to come here, are you afraid that Brother Qing will chop you down? Chen Henan looked at Zixi contemptuously, wondering what Li Qing's vision was that he would fall in love with such a little girl. Li Qing, Chen Henan touched the scar on his face unnaturally, he is drinking coffee at the police station. What do you want to do? My little brother is outside, Zixiangli said nervously. Chen Henan looked at the crowded private room and said, I want to negotiate a business deal with you. Get them out first. When the younger brothers behind him heard this, they all chased the little sister away. When Zixi saw that all the little sisters were gone, she was a little panicked and planned to call the younger brother outside. Do you want to become the second 13th sister? Chen Henan said with a smile, the scar on his face twisting like a centipede. Obviously he is no longer worthy of the nickname Liang Zainan. Zixi wanted to shout, but after hearing Chen Henan's words, she suddenly quieted down. I heard that Li Qing still has a son, Chen Henan asked in a strange tone. Women have to rely on themselves. Men cannot be relied on, including me, Chen Henan continued. A trace of resentment flashed across Zixin Li's face. Since Hong Kong Sheng came to the villa, Li Qing has become much colder towards him. He gritted his teeth and said, what's the business? Tell me. She temporarily forgot that Li Qing and Chen Henan were mortal enemies, and only wanted to influence her own destiny. I have a business and I can make more than 1 million in one night. Zixi opened her eyes in surprise when she heard this. Her bar was quite popular, and the most she could get in one night was 500,000. You, go on. Chen Henan threw over a bag of something like flour, looked at it suspiciously, and then threw it aside. You're crazy, Brother Qing will kill me at this time, Zixin Li no longer stuttered. Li Qing had already set the rules, whoever dares to touch flour will die. In fact, Chen Henan also knew this rule. He suffered several losses from Li Qing in a row, and he was a little scared. But Mr. Zhang had just handed over the flour business to him, and the first task he gave him was that the flour must enter Mongkok and Causeway Bay. Because there are only these two places in the whole of Xiangjiang, flour cannot enter. When Li Qing comes out, we will have already spread the goods, and don't you want to be the second 13th sister? This is an opportunity, Chen Henan continued to seduce. Besides, Mr. Zhang said that he wants to recruit you into the club, and the hall in Mongkok will be yours from now on, Chen Henan said. Nonsense. Zixin Li's eyes lit up when he heard this, and the scene of him leading a group of girls to show off appeared in his mind. What about Brother Qing? As soon as the words came out, Zixi regretted them. What do you think? How do you think Li Qing got in? Chen Henan smiled evilly, feeling a sense of revenge in his heart. It turns out that Li Qing's smuggling and the body of the pheasant were all information revealed to the police by Zhang Tiansheng and Chen Henan. The purpose was to let Li Qing enter the police station so that he could plan a series of actions. Okay, I agree. The two high-fived each other. Zhang Dongzhi quietly walked out of the secret room. This private room originally belonged to Li Qing, and the secret room was also used to escape. He had heard everything about the two people's plans. Li Qing deliberately brought the news he heard to the police station through his lawyer. Mr. Li, although the police have no direct evidence, they still require you to be detained for 24 hours. Li Qing sat opposite the lawyer, his expression a bit ugly. In 24 hours, I am afraid that flour has been fully spread in his land, and the order he established from the beginning will be gone. Lawyer Zhang, can you start from other aspects? Li Qing asked again. The lawyer thought for a while and said in a low voice, or he may be injured, and he will be released on medical parole. Li Qing thought for a while and shook his head. It wasn't that it couldn't be done, but that it wouldn't be possible. Sir, please tell your superiors that I have important information to report to Sir Huang from the crime unit and ask him to come over. Li Qing said to the military uniform standing next to him. The military uniform obviously knew who Li Qing was, and a young police officer like him couldn't afford to offend him anyway. Not long after, Huang's Heshan came to the interrogation room with a gloomy face. Tell me, bad boy, do you have any information? Li Qing glanced at the camera opposite. Huang's Heshan nodded knowingly and stepped forward to turn off the camera. Sir Huang, I want to go out immediately, Li Qing said straight to the point without talking nonsense. Huang's Heshan said nothing, tilted his head and waited for the next sentence. Tomorrow night at the latest, I will give you the exact location. Li Qing raised his eyebrows and took out his chips. Huang's Heshan's eyes lit up when he heard this. Wait, if you lie to me, you know the consequences. Pointing at Li Qing and threatening him, he walked out of the interrogation room. Looking at Huang's Heshan's back, Li Qing smiled contemptuously. Profit is indeed the driving force behind everything. Not long after, Li Qing walked out of the police station intact. Hang Sheng, who had been waiting on the roadside for a long time, hurriedly took the pomelo leaves and came forward to drive away the bad luck for Li Qing. Li Qing stretched out his hands and waited for Gang Sheng to pat him, while his eyes were looking at Zhang Dongzhou next to him. Dongzhou, is what you said true? Zhang Dongzhou nodded quickly. In fact, Li Qing knew that Zhang Dongzhou would not lie to him, because the entry on his head clearly showed loyalty value 100%. But he didn't want to believe that Zixi would betray him. Brother, do you want to? Zhang Dongzhou made a throat-cutting gesture on his neck. Li Qing's face was gloomy and terrible. Don't alarm the snake first. Although he felt a little reluctant about the women he had slept with, Li Qing would not change his decision once he made it. Li Qing muttered in Zhang Dongzhou's ear for a while, and Zhang Dongzhou looked at him in surprise, nodded hurriedly, and drove away. Qian Dan, let's go. Li Qing hugged Gang Sheng expressionlessly and drove towards the bar in Mongkok. Soon, Li Qing brought his younger brothers to a bar in Mongkok. The bar was bustling with people. In the dim light, men and women were hugging each other. Li Qing looked at the young man in front of him. He was obviously having fun and shaking his head like a rattle. He grabbed the young man's hair, his eyes were dull and distracted, and the symptoms were obvious. Li Qing laughed angrily, find the one who distributes the medicine for me. I want to use him to light the sky lantern. At the command, the younger brothers all dispersed and began to search in the crowd. At this time, Zixi came over in a hurry with a group of gangsters, and his expression was obviously a little panicked. Brother Qing, why did you come out? Zixi spoke as if he didn't think. How much do you want me to come out? Li Qing's eyes were cold and he stared at the woman in front of him. The entry above the woman's head showed loyalty 20%. Brother Qing, found. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 17. De Hu grabbed a short mule and came to Li Qing's box. Brother Qing, it's none of my business. Brother Nan asked me to sell it. This bad guy knelt on the ground, crying with snot and tears. Because of too much fear, his body was still shaking slightly. The main reason is that Li Qing's name is too famous, and his rules are piled up by human lives. Li Qing had been squatting in the bitter kill for 3 years because the incident was too big and Jinkan couldn't handle it, So he was asked to go to the bitter kill to avoid the limelight. If this bad guy hadn't owed a lot of money from gambling debts, he wouldn't have taken the risk and come to Li Qing's twatty to loosen flour. Boy, no one can break my rules. Since you have already done it, you know the consequences. Don't worry. Chen Henan will go down to accompany you. As soon as Li Qing finished speaking, Zhang Qiandan stabbed Lan Zai's throat with a knife. For a moment, the whole room could only hear the sound of blood gurgling in his throat. Whoever touches it will die. Li Qing glanced at the younger brother in the room. Yes, boss. Finally, his eyes fell on Zixin Li. Zixin Li's face was pale and his body was shaking like a sieve. Li Qing looked at the entry above her head, loyalty value 0%. Zixin Li, aren't you going to explain? Brother Qing, it's none of my business. I don't know anything. It must be Chen Henan who is causing trouble while you are away. I have been worried about you and have no time to pay attention to things in the bar. Zixi didn't stutter a word, Yugilo said it all. Li Qing said nothing, looked at her and nodded, showing a creepy smile. Yes, Chen Henan came to see me, but I didn't agree. Zixi suddenly thought that it was very possible that the bartender told Li Qing that Chen Henan had been here, and she quickly explained. Really? Okay, you contact Chen Henan and say that you want a large quantity of goods, but they need to be inspected. The location is set to be warehouse number 2 at Saigon Pier. Zixi nodded quickly and agreed. She didn't know what Li Xin was up to, but now she had no choice. Keep an eye on her, Li Qing told Dehu and Ergu before taking Hong Kong Sheng out. Brother, we agreed to light the sky lanterns. Why did Brother Dan kill someone? Dehu asked, scratching his head. That's right, I haven't seen it yet. Ergu also muttered, complaining behind his back that Zhang Qiandan started too quickly, and neither of them had time to try how to light the sky lantern. Li Qing walked with Hong Kong students for a long time, looking at the sea level where a white line appeared. You will never be able to raise a little girl like this. Li Qing didn't know whether to tell Hong Kong students or himself. After coming out of the police station, he had given Zixi several opportunities, but she chose to hide them all, which disappointed him. Hong Kong Sheng gently hugged Li Qing and leaned his face on his shoulder. Perhaps this was the only way to make Li Qing happy. Li Qing deliberately asked Zhang Qiandan and others to block the news that he had left the police station. When Chen Henan received the news that Zixin Li was requesting goods, he immediately contacted the bulk cargo guys. Huh? Why didn't Lai Toming come? Chen Henan looked around at the younger brothers. I don't know, Brother Nan, I came here in bulk at the bar last night, but I don't know where I went to hang out today. Maid, don't just take the money and run away, some of the boys said angrily. Forget it, he will come back sooner or later. His wife and children are in our hands. Chen Henan waved his hand. Let's start calculating the profit from bulk goods at the Mongkok bar last night. Maid, Dafa. Nearly 2 million in one night. He didn't expect that the consumption of bars in Mongkok was so huge. The average bar's daily consumption was more than 1 million. Chen Henan's suspicion was relieved a little. No wonder, Xiao Xiao is asking for a lot of goods, it seems that he has tasted the sweetness. How's the news I asked you to inquire about? Chen Henan is quite cautious in doing things. Brother Nan, Li Qing is indeed still at the police station, no one has seen him. After hearing these words, Chen Henan put his heart in his stomach. Okay, everyone, let's go and have a rest. There's a big deal tonight, so cheer up. After Chen Henan finished speaking, he took the banknotes and left. The younger brothers looked at Chen Henan's back and started talking. You've made so much money and you haven't even given us a dime. If I had known it earlier, I would have learned from my mistakes and spent my time first. Tick, do you think he is still the handsome Nan from before? he is the only double flower red stick in the entire Xiangjiang of Muta that does not have a top spot. It's so funny. After being beaten so badly by Li Qing, he still lets us show off all day long. How shameless. I should have known earlier that I was with Li Qing. Chen Hanan's subordinates all complained that during the 3 years Li Qing spent in the kill, he was a rising star in Hongxing. He is handsome, can fight, is loyal, and has a few best friends. All the new boys want to join him. Who would have thought that as soon as Li Qing was released from prison, Chen Hanan would go downhill? He really had to compare goods with others, and compare people to death. Anan, that's good. It seems I was right to leave the flower business to you. Zhang Tiansheng looked at the banknotes on the table and said. In the beginning, he had no choice but to hand over the flower business to Chen Hanan. I don't have any land or money. Isn't this double flower red stick just a doorkeeper? Therefore, he could only hand over part of the flower business to Chen Hanan from his direct lineage Chen Yao. Unexpectedly, Chen Hanan did an impressive job and even actually spread the goods in Li Qing's land. It was equivalent to giving Li Qing eye drops, so Zhang Tiansheng was very happy after knowing the news. Looking at the 1.9 million in cash on the table, Zhang Tiansheng stood up, cut out half of it with his arm, and pushed it to Chen Hanan. Hanan, this is for you. Keep up the good work. When Chen Hanan heard this, his eyes shone and he quickly stood up and bowed to Zhang Tiansheng. Thank you, Mr. Zhang. Don't worry, Li Qing won't be proud for long. Zhang Tiansheng patted Chen Hanan on the shoulder happily. This young and dangerous boy was indeed smarter than the silly big brother B. As night falls, the pier in Saikang is no longer as busy as it was during the day, and the fishermen have also entered their houseboats to rest. Chen Hanan led a few younger brothers and swaggered to warehouse number 2. The person who came out to greet him was the little girl under Zixi. It's fine, there's something wrong with it, and you're surrounded by little girls who are making noises. What's the use? Chen Hanan said disdainfully. In fact, this was also the reason why he only dared to bring a few younger brothers with him to the appointment. Beautiful, pretty boy, are you here? Zixi saw Chen Hanan walking in and said quickly. Everything is fine, all the goods are here. Where's the money? Chen Hanan patted the bag in his little brother's hand. The door of the warehouse was suddenly closed from the outside, and applause suddenly came from the darkness. Zixin Li quickly ran inside. Bonzinan, you are still so unimproved and stupid, just like your dead boss. Li Qing led his younger brother out and looked at Chen Hanan with disdain. Li Qing. Chen Hanan's face was full of ferocity, and he squeezed out 2 words from his throat. Brother, Chen Hanan's little brother Chao Pai ran away, Zhang Qiandan reported in a low voice. Li Qing's eyes flashed and he waved his hand. Don't worry, you are a minor character. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 18. Pretty Nan? Haha, the scar on the left side of his face is not standard. Dongzia will make it more symmetrical. Li Qing sat on the box in the warehouse and pointed at Chen Hanan. Yes, brother. Zhang Dongzia licked his lips, smiled ferociously, and walked over. When the younger brothers behind Chen Hanan heard this, they all took out their knives from their arms and rushed over. Bang bang bang, several gunshots rang out, and Chen Hanan's younger brother fell straight to the ground. You don't have martial ethics. Chen Hanan looked at his younger brother who fell on the ground with grief and anger. You make martial arts movies and you still have martial arts ethics. It's almost the 21st century. Li Qing said mockingly. Qin Liliang, Li Qing, I have a seed. Chen Hanan suddenly remembered that he seemed to be unable to defeat Li Qing in a single fight. Then he stopped talking and took out the chain that could be used as both a belt and a weapon from his waist. He threw it at Zhang Dongzia, who was on the opposite side. Even though Zhang Dongzia was full of muscles, his movements were very flexible. He dodged the chain sideways and started fighting with Chen Henan. Li Qing watched the two of them going back and forth. Well, mainly Zhang Dongzhou pressed forward step by step, while Chen Henan retreated step by step. Dongzhou, stop playing. After hearing this, Zhang Dongzhou stopped entangled with Chen Henan and slapped Chen Henan on the face. Chen Henan felt as if his face had been hit by a brick. His whole face was numb and his mind was dizzy. When he woke up, he found that he was tied to a chair. Hey, Chen Henan, do you want to tell me? Zhang Qiandan picked up Chen Henan's long hair and asked. Zixi Li, who had been watching from behind, couldn't help but lower her head. She was extremely scared, fearing that Chen Henan would tell her about her deal with him. Haha, I'm talking about you MLGB. Li Qing, you bad boy, I'm going to kill your whole family. Chen Henan spat out blood in the direction of Li Qing. I am the only one left in my family. Since you ask so, I will send you down to meet them. Li Qing looked at Chen Henan and sighed again. Okay, you have the guts. I admire you. I remember when Pheasant knelt down for me without saying a word. He gave Chen Henan a thumbs up. Forget it. If you can't ask, forget it. Just kill him. And eat his waist for barbecue. Li Qing waved his hand. Chen Henan was stunned when he heard this, and his face turned extremely pale. Etc. What else do you want to say? Li Qing asked after taking a breath of cigarette. What should I say? You, ask. Half of Chen Henan's face was swollen, making it difficult for him to speak. You didn't ask. Li Qing looked at Zhang Qiandan with a dark look on his face. Zhang Qiandan was also stunned for a moment. It seems, maybe I really didn't ask. Then he slapped Chen Henan on the face. I didn't ask, wouldn't you take the initiative to say it? Tell me quickly, where is Zhang Tianzhen's flour factory? Quaixing Pier 14, Warehouse No. 3. Chen Henan said it all without typing. Li Qing winked at De He, who nodded and quickly contacted his younger brother to verify. Half an hour later. Brother, the place is right. Li Qing nodded, squatted down, and looked at Chen Henan, who looked like a lost dog in front of him. Do you know? Liangkan, the perverted person in your eyes, helped me when I was most desperate. I still remember his words, baby, don't cry. If you have something to eat from me, you won't be hungry. You are different from them, you are my little fellow. His voice was low, as if he was recalling the original scene. Then he said with anger in his tone, but, just a few days before I was released from prison, you killed him. My grandfather has taught me since I was a child that 1,000 years of kindness will be remembered. The moment I was released from prison, I swore that I would send all of you to accompany him. Goodbye, Chen Henan. Li Qing raised the gun in his hand and aimed it between Chen Henan's eyebrows. Haha, Li Qing, you don't want to know who betrayed you. Before Chen Henan could finish speaking, he was shot in the head. The tiger head on Li Qing's chest seemed to roar in his mind, and then a fascinating sense of power surged throughout his body, as Li Qing experienced the increase in physical fitness. Zixin Li was relieved. When Chen Henan spoke just now, Zixin Li's heart jumped into his throat. The smile returned to her face, and Chen Henan and his little brother went to hell with the secret. What are you laughing at? Li Qing's voice suddenly appeared in Zixin Li's ears. No, I'm happy for Brother Qing, finally got rid of Chen Henan. Zixin Li quickly stopped her smile and said nervously. I'm very disappointed in you. Let me tell you, there is a secret compartment in my box. I know everything you and Chen Henan said. Li Qing raised his eyebrows and said with a smile. Zixiniola collapsed on the ground, hugging Li Qing's legs and begging, Brother Qing, I'm obsessed with ghosts, please let me go. You said I was your son. Li Qing smiled and helped Zixin Liu up, looking at the woman in front of him who was shaking like a quail. "Don't worry, I won't kill a woman. Just go." When the younger brother heard this, he got out of the way, and Xiaoxialiu trembled slightly and walked out with the younger sister. But there was hatred in her eyes. Li Qing treated her like this because he wanted her to die. Once the short mule outside knew that she was not Li Qing's son, he would definitely take revenge on him crazily. She did too many outrageous things in the Mongkok bar. Li Qing looked at Zixili's back, calm as water, and the words above her head began to jump: loyalty minus 10%, loyalty minus 30%, loyalty minus 50%. Gang Sheng stepped forward and gently held Li Qing's hand with his left hand, and took the pistol from him with his right hand. Bang! The bullet shot into Zixili's back of the head. Until then, Zixili was still thinking about the plan to retaliate against Li Qing in his mind, and the picture stopped abruptly. "I don't kill women, I didn't say my women don't kill women," Li Qing muttered softly. Gang Sheng gently lit a cigarette for Li Qing. Li Qing signaled Zhang Qiandan with his eyes, and there were several more gunshots in the warehouse, and several gangsters were also killed by guns. Li Qing walked out of the warehouse with a group of younger brothers. Before leaving, he cut a small strand of hair from Chen Hanan's body and put it in his pocket. Behind him, the two brothers Dahu and Ergu cleaned up the battlefield. "While it's hot," Ergu looked at the fallen girls in a lewd way. "Get lost, damn, little girls are not good, if they get sick, they can't be cured." Dahu patted Ergu's head. "That's right, I definitely won't look for little girls if I want to find a girl, they are unreliable." Ergu glanced at Zixili's corpse and spit on the ground. This bitch relied on Brother Qing and made the two brothers angry. In the past, they didn't care for Brother Qing's face. This time, even if the sister-in-law didn't kill her, the two brothers would find a chance to kill her. "When do you think the boss will accept a new brother? If there is a new person, this job can be thrown to him," Ergu complained. "Soon, Brother Qing asked me to find out the name of Yu Feng these days, right, it's Feng Yuxiu," Dahu smiled foolishly. "Really? When he arrives, we can order him to work." The two laughed slyly, and the other brothers stayed away from them, fearing that they would be infected by the foolishness of the two brothers. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 19. Xiangjiang, Hongxing, the headquarters hall. "Mr. Zhang, we can't wait any longer. Brother Nan is in danger." Chao Pai looked anxiously at the steady Zhang Tiansheng. Zhang Tiansheng looked at the short mule in front of him, and as expected, Li Qing took action against Chen Hanan. In fact, Zhang Tiansheng encouraged Chen Hanan from the beginning and let him sell goods in Li Qing's land. That's when I thought of this day. Who is Li Qing? In order to prevent flour from entering Mongkok, he was the master who killed dozens of people. Chen Hanan would die if he broke his rules. Looking at Chao Pai, Zhang Tiansheng said kindly, "Don't worry, I have sent someone over. Hanan will be fine. Pai, you have been following Hanan for a long time. I value you very much. I will give you a task. As long as you do it well, you will be promoted to the Red Stick." When Chao Pai heard this, he immediately forgot about Chen Hanan and his eyes were as wide as bells. He never thought that one day he would have the opportunity to take up a job. "Mr. Zhang, I will definitely handle your orders," Pai said, patting his chest. "You take the guy, take the little brother, as long as you protect this batch of goods, I guarantee you will get the upper hand." After Zhang Tiansheng whispered in Chao Pai's ear, Chao Pai hurriedly walked out. Zhang Tiansheng looked at Chao Pai's back, picked up the teacup and took a sip, smiling meaningfully. The bait has been set, just waiting for the hook to bite. he said to Chen Yao, who came out of the dark room. Li Qing led his younger brother out of the warehouse, recalling the scene just now in his mind. He felt that things were not that simple. It was too easy to get the address of the flour warehouse. There must be something he overlooked, but he couldn't remember it for a while. Li Qing took a deep drag on his cigarette and said, "Qiandan, go to Quaiqing district yourself and investigate the flour warehouse." Zhang Qiandan nodded and hurriedly took his two younger brothers to investigate. "Spread the word, I'm out at the police station, and I'll chop off the hands of anyone who dares to bulk cargo in Mongkok or Causeway Bay," Li Qing told the younger brother beside him. "Zhang Tiansheng is not the only one who covets his land. Other societies are a little bit ready to make a move. After all, no society can withstand the temptation of two big fat guys." Not long after the news was released, major social groups stopped their efforts because they were really afraid. Several uncles from the Sunset Club were drinking tea and chatting. "Maid. I've known for a long time that Li Qing is ruthless, but I didn't expect to be so ruthless. Just because his son touched the flour, he made her disappear. Yeah, forget about Mongkok and Causeway Bay, unless Li Qing is dead. There are rumors in the world that Hong Xing's leader is at odds with Li Qing. Should we? You're thinking should. If he comes, you won't be able to sit still on the faucet." While they were discussing, Li Qing was unable to extricate himself from the gentle land. Li Qing gently stroked the tiger head tattoo on Hong Kong Sheng's back. Hong Kong Sheng looked at the man opposite him intently with the aftermath on his face. Li Qing is very satisfied with the Hong Kong student. This woman has a fierce spirit and can adapt to her identity in a short period of time. She also manages the bars in Causeway Bay well. When she killed Zixi, her hands didn't even tremble. She understood what Li Qing was thinking, and Zixi couldn't die in Li Qing's hands. "Brother Qing, I want a child." Hong Kong Sheng looked at Li Qing and murmured. Li Qing lit up the cigarette and took a deep breath. He knew that the death of Xiao Xiao just now made her feel very insecure. "Hong Kong student, now is not the time. Wait for me for a year. After 1 year, I will definitely give you a child." In fact, Li Qing also wanted to have his own descendants deep down, so that he would be bound by blood in this world. But it really wasn't possible now. There were too many enemies. He didn't want his child to be in the same danger as himself when he was born. "Don't worry, you are different from Zixi. I am your first man." Although he doesn't want to admit it, Li Qing does have a virginity complex. For fun, of course it is better for the sister-in-law, but for the daughter-in-law, it is better for her to be her own body and mind. Especially when it comes to issues involving offspring, you can't do a paternity test after the child is born. What's more, Li Qing believes in system entries. As long as the loyalty value reaches 100%, there will definitely be no problem. Li Qing's right hand moved dishonestly on Hong Kong Sheng's smooth back, sliding back and forth, but the thoughts in his mind didn't know where to go. Ding ring ring. The ringing of the phone interrupted Li Qing's thinking. "Brother, there is indeed a problem in the warehouse. I saw Chen Hanan's younger brother Chao Ping secretly surrounded the entire warehouse with heavy firepower." Zhang Qiandan's voice came from the microphone. Li Qing smiled contemptuously. Zhang Tiansheng only had this ability. "Want to fish? See if your fishing rod is strong enough." Li Qing sat on the bed and pondered for a while, then suddenly picked up the phone and dialed a phone number. The phone rang a few times before it was connected, and an arrogant voice came from the other side. "Who is it?" "I'm working on something." "Be careful, I'll chop you to death." A woman's voice could be heard faintly from the other side. "I. Get out, I'm in trouble." There was a murmur of movement and a woman's complaint on the opposite side. "Brother Cheng." In fact, Crow was already Li Qing's younger brother when he was in Stanley prison, and he was the kind with 100% loyalty. "Crow, there is something you need to do." The crow opposite listened to Li Qing's instructions carefully and looked serious. A few minutes later, okay. Brother Cheng. I will definitely handle this matter properly. Luo Tuo has been thinking about it for a long time. After listening to Li Qing's words, Crow laughed slyly. Please stay out of this matter and let the smiling tiger come forward, Li Qing instructed again. Everyone knows that I, the crow, have no brains, don't worry. After Li Qing hung up the phone, he took a deep breath and said, Zhang Tiansheng, you have your Zhongliang plan, and I have my wall ladder. Let's see who wins. The next day, Crow waddled to find the smiling tiger, one of the 5 tigers of the Eastern Star. This smiling tiger is the camel's white glove. He is famous for being sinister and vicious, and there is no wrong nickname for him in this world. Brother Xiang, morning. The smiling tiger was nibbling on pineapple buns at the refreshment stall early in the morning. Hey, Crow. Why do you have time to find me today? The stowaway girl who sent you last time died? The smiling tiger showed his iconic smile. Don't mention it, that horse is like a dead fish, sunk into the sea by me, Crow said nonchalantly. I came today because I really have something to do, Crow whispered close to smiling tiger. Oh, smiling tiger became interested. Crow is the best fighter in Dongxing besides Ben Lihu, and he has countless younger brothers. Logically speaking, it is impossible to ask him for help. Lend me some troops, Crow said mysteriously. The smiling tiger has 800 thoughts and an idea. Crow, you are not honest. If you have any big business, why don't you think about your brother? The crow scratched his head in embarrassment and looked around. The smiling tiger nodded in agreement and led him into the inner hall. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 20. So mysterious, what's going on? Smiling tiger became more and more interested. It's nothing serious. It's just that one of my younger brothers accidentally discovered a flower warehouse in Hongxing. Crow smiled and said with a hint of temptation. Before he even finished speaking, the smiling tiger knew what the crow wanted to do. Are you crazy? Do you want Dongxing and Hongxing to go to war? The smiling tiger glanced at the crow's chest with disdain and said, Maid, you really have big breasts and no brains. What's that look in your eyes? Li Qing has already said that whoever loses the goods will die. Chen Henan doesn't even know where he has escaped. He is unaware of it. The crow was really dissatisfied with the contemptuous look in the smiling tiger's eyes and blurted out. After speaking, he quickly covered his mouth with an expression as if he had said the wrong thing. The smiling tiger's eyes turned. You mean? Take advantage of others and then put the blame on Li Qing. The smiling tiger looked at the crow opposite in surprise. The crow actually learned to use his brain. He thought about it carefully and realized that it was indeed feasible. When the time came, he would rob the goods, burn the warehouse, and put the blame on Li Qing. After all, Li Qing is the only one in Xiangjiang. He will burn this thing when he sees it, and everyone else is eager to move them all. Crow, I'm sorry, I can't take this soldier. This plan is too risky and might cause a war in the club. The smiling tiger said seriously to the crow. You deserve to be poor for the rest of your life. Hearing this, Crow turned around and left the tea restaurant without hesitation. The smiling tiger looked at the crow's leaving figure with a smile. Street boy, you will never learn to eat brains. Crow was eating beef noodles not far away, watching the smiling tiger hurriedly lead his little brother out of the tea restaurant. He smiled and ate some noodles. Idiot, you deserve to be tricked. Not long after, smiling tiger arrived at the main room where his old friend, Dongxing Luochuo, lived. Boss, do you want to get rich? Looking at the camel having breakfast, the smiling tiger said with a smile. Huh? Get rich? Who wouldn't want to? The smiling tiger repeated what the crow said. Asyong, you came here early in the morning just to say this. I didn't say that you. Luo Tuo started his usual routine and scolded his younger brother. The smiling tiger resisted the urge to beat him violently and stood aside with a low eyebrow. Mad, if you weren't my boss, I would sew your mouth shut. Well, we have to follow the rules when we hang out. I think your plan will work. Smiling Tiger originally thought he had no chance when he heard the first half of the sentence, but he didn't expect it to take a turn. The fewer people who know about this, the better. Don't let the crow get involved. He has a big mouth. You can arrange it. The camel took out a tissue and wiped his mouth, then returned to the house. It was the smiling tiger who picked up the tissue from the table and wiped his face. He had just been reprimanded and had spit on his face. Maid, it's dry. It's so stupid. At noon, Li Qing had dinner in an ordinary restaurant and made an appointment with Huang Zhishan. Sir Huang, don't be nervous, there's no one around. Li Qing looked at Huang Zhishan looking around and chuckled. Bad boy, I'm worried that you will be discovered, Huang Zhishan explained. Li Qing curled his lips and said nothing. Did you bring my file? The purpose of calling Huang Zhishan this time was to use Hongxin Flower Warehouse to exchange his files. Huang Zhishan's eyes flickered and he took out a file bag from his arms. Li Qing opened the file bag and took a look. It was his own handwriting. It was indeed his original file. Before he could take a closer look, Huang Zhishan snatched it away with great force. Bad boy, address. Quaixing Pier 14, Warehouse No. 3. Li Qing lowered his head and said, Huang Zhishan couldn't see his expression clearly. But according to Li Qing's guess, Huang Zhishan would definitely not believe him due to his suspicious character. The file is in my hands now. I will return it to you when the flower warehouse is cleared. Then yours can be returned to the police force. I will give you at least 1 star. Huang Zhishan drew the pie, reached out and took the pineapple bun from Li Qing's plate and stuffed it into his mouth. Sir Huang, I hope you will do what you say. And let me remind you, you have to act as soon as possible. The goods may be transferred tomorrow. Li Qing smiled slightly and said playfully. Based on Li Qing's understanding of Huang Zhishan, it was impossible for him to give him the file and squeeze out all his value. Perhaps Huang Zhishan took pity on him and asked him to go back to being a traffic policeman issuing tickets. Huang Zhishan's expression changed. Pengjia, I hope you will be more respectful when you talk to me in the future. If you do this again next time, you will never get your file, Lace. Huang Zhishan looked around to see that no one was there, and the pineapple bun eater walked out of the restaurant. Li Qing smiled self-deprecatingly, suppressing the anger in his heart. Marred, what's the point of competing with a dead man? Li Qing's guess was correct. Huang Zhishan didn't believe him at all, so he turned around and contacted Chen Yongren, the nail in Li Qing's side. After getting the exact news from Chen Yongren, Huang Zhishan let down his guard. Immediately, he summoned the serious crime team to start the deployment. It was not that he had not thought about going to the police station, but he was afraid that the credit would be shared, so this time he only notified his own serious crime team. The crime squad also has nearly 20 people. It is a flower warehouse and it is not a manufacturing base. There should be no need for the flying tigers. At 9 o'clock in the evening, the crime team was ready. After investigation, it was indeed Hongxing's flower base inside. Hongxing's short mules patrolled back and forth around the warehouse, and there was a high probability that there was a lot of goods inside. Huang Zhishan stared at the warehouse in the distance excitedly. This was an important achievement for his promotion. If a large amount of flour was seized in one fell swoop, he might be promoted exceptionally. Just when Huang Zhishan was about to order an attack, the deputy next to him pulled his arm. Sir Huang, look. Huang Zhishan took the telescope and saw the smiling tiger of Dongxing sneaking in with dozens of his younger brothers. Seeing the boys holding various lengths in their hands, Huang Zhishan decided to wait. At this time, Smiling Tiger didn't know that someone was secretly observing them. He carefully led his younger brother and slowly approached the warehouse. Through the cracks in the warehouse, one can clearly see Hungzing's short mules weighing and bagging flour. It's done, the Smiling Tiger smiled and clenched his fists. This time he wanted to thank the crow. He decided that if the deal was successful, he would invite Crow to Bolan Street to have a good time. After all, it was his idea. The Smiling Tiger waved his hand, and the younger brother behind him started to move forward slowly on tiptoes. The young and dangerous boys in Hongxing were also very alert. Their eldest brother Chao Pai told them that Li Qing might bring someone here tonight. "Maid, we've been discovered. Hit me." The Smiling Tiger urged his younger brother to push forward, while he secretly sat in a safe place and directed. Chao Pai in the warehouse thought Li Qing was calling, and said with a ferocious smile, "This time, Li Qing will never come back." He called Zhang Tiansheng to report the news, and took the lead and rushed out with a pistol.